Alright, today we're asking the question, can you beat Starfield with explosives only? The start of the game is the same, just like always. We do our normal mining 101 tutorial with Lynn, and then we make our way over to the magic MacGuffin Rock and have ourselves a nice little crazy trip into space.
Hey, come on. Come on. Okay, take it easy. You were out cold. No physical damage. Mentally, the jury's still out. You know who you are? New recruit for Argos Extractors? Ring any bells? Any of the...
Now we're finally on to making our character, and I fuss with it a bit, but overall way less than normal. For starting class, there's nothing that super does what I want, so I ended up just picking Space Scoundrel for 1 point in pistols, like a level 1 combat skill, the piloting, and the piloting skill, which are both nice. I ended up using Persuasion quite a bit too through the run. For traits, I ended up picking Freestar Collective, Introvert, and Wanted. I really like the Wanted skill. It really adds a lot to this random, space battles that can just happen whenever you land in a new system. So it's a great skill, one of my favorites. Now, finally, we figure out what we're gonna do with this really cool rock, and from Lynn, we find out we have a buyer who is showing up. Finally.
Do you remember anything that happened? Huh. Well, you passed out. Either way, we got what we were looking for.
All this trouble for that stupid thing?
Never mind what it looks like. It's worth... Speak of the devil.
Here we meet Barrett, and he gives us. Well, he's our buyer, so he wants the rock, and it turns out he brought some friends. So now, the run can finally begin in earnest, and we can see how fun this is going to be.
That's why I like you, Lynn. All business. Let's get him!
Now, I looked all over the place, and I couldn't find any explosives. So, this starting fight is all the NPCs in Vasco, so we hope that they can clear it. This little fight took forever. Yeah, it was slow and it was painful. Eventually, Vasco ends up going down because I was just kind of hanging out and not really participating in the fight, which kind of made me panic a bit, and I started to actually get involved by running around, getting into the NPC's personal space, and trying to herd them into the open so that they would take more damage, which seemed to be the best strat. Just bump into them, run around like an idiot, get shot a bunch, and eventually, after forever and a day, we pull through. Now, for some reason, Barrett decides that we are the best person to be given a ship and to fly off and do his job for him and return the artifact to Constellation, which After the third or fourth time playing through this, still doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but here we are, flying off. My goal for the run was to use missiles only for the ship combat sections, but this starting ship I struggled with and couldn't get the missiles to do it, so I ended up using lasers to knock the shields down and then finishing them off with just missiles. Finally, we get Vasco tells us there's a pirate base over here and we need to clear it out before we can actually do anything. So here's Vasco carrying the run, doing some work. He seems to like talking more than he likes shooting, but once he starts shooting, it's really nice. Here we are finally getting a whopping, 3 total explosives. I should have given one to Vasco, since if you give an NPC one grenade, they'll get infinite of the grenade, and they will periodically throw them, normally hurting you more than monsters, but it's something. But I didn't do that yet. Later on I do. This is the second go-around at this ending fight. The first time I threw all my grenades in my landmine, didn't kill enough, and just walked away figuring, hey, Vasco's got it. This was not what happened, and so I just had to reload, get all my stuff back. So the first grenade took out, I think, 1 or 2 guys, and then I throw the landmine, and yeah, that's 4 damage. And I'm out of explosives, which was a common theme going forward. So we gotta wait forever for Vasco to decide to kill the NPC. Now I upgrade the ship, getting as many missiles as we can power up. That'll hopefully help space combat a touch. I searched everywhere in Jameson, all the arms stores I could find, and none of them were selling explosives. And I was in the well and randomly checked this site, the UC supply store, and he does in fact sell explosives, which, well, we got 8. That's something. And now we are broke with 0 money. I finally turned in the first quest from Barrett. Talk to Sarah, turn our rock in, and get our next plot point to find the next rock.
That's arcing between them. No manufactured material in the settled systems can do that. None of them. This proves.
Easy, girl. Breathe. You'll have a heart attack.
She's not the only one. If they're coming together, that means there's a set built.
I'm listening. So, we're going to be doing some. That means people. I've been letting my. Felt the same way when I started. But it's not just. I'm going to be. We'll need to head to Mass and listen. What every member of Constellation.
Our first stop with Sarah is to talk to the UC here, who has a lead on someone we think has a magic space rock, so we figure out where he was last seen from this kind Tulsa guy, and then we fly off to Mars.
Hey, nothing wrong with the. Explain the brownouts.
Building Sidonia completely underground was a clever way.
As is tradition on my first go around to Mars, I go in through here and immediately run directly to the mission board to pick up all the missions I can do. Yep, can't not do it. So, it turns out our friendly guy with his magic space rock has a bar tab. I go through and quickly fail the perception check, or the persuasion check, and it turns out I'm flat broke. So, off to do a bunch of space missions, killing up space jerks with my new ship that's missiles only, which is a choice. It's definitely the hardest out of all the weird ship builds I've done so far. At this point in the run, I decided to take about a 3-week break, and I was waiting for the mod from officially supported mods to show up, and then I realized that wasn't until next year. So I got on a Nexus mod and searched around for one that would help me not go crazy. And so I downloaded that list of mods you see on the screen there, which pretty much just refreshes the item stock whenever you exit the item buy screen, and it also refreshes the cache in the shop. I decided to select in a clip from later on in the run showing how kind of the mod works. You can see here I go through, spend a bunch of money, exit out, go back in through the conversation thing, and we've got all of our throwable stock restocked. And so I go through, buy all my money, and you can also see that the vendor credits have kind of reset, which is helpful when you need to go through and sell a bunch of stuff. And there is absolutely no way I could have finished this run without this set of mods. It really saved a lot of madness and suffering, and put all that suffering into actually just using grenades instead of flying around and resting, which I hate doing that. I hate having to go build an outpost and a bench and sit there for 10 hours to refresh stock. Now with my newfound money and mods, I've got enough money to pay off the guy's bar tab, and we get our next lead, which points us out to Venus, where we can go try some more space combat. The space combat goes very badly, and we just explode. So we have to do the boring stealth approach, which I really don't like. So here's us slowly creeping up on a satellite, and we get our information pointing us to the moon, Nova Galactic Shipyard, somewhere. Anyway, off we go. I would say this is the first kind of real fight with Sarah and I in this outpost here, space station, whatever, and I'm just trying to kind of push through this, not waste all of my supplies. I waste a good amount of them, but not all of them. And then, yeah, right about now in the run, I'm like, okay, I need to stop just willy-nilly hucking grenades around. Also, that's a nice grooving lid there. Anyway, trying to focus up and run away and be smarter about combat. Finally got a solid lead on the guy who has our next MacGuffin rock, and so we track down a ship, dock with it, and use our amazing grenade powers to help clear it out. Using the grenades on the ship just seems like the worst idea in the world, but it just works really well. They don't have a lot of places to run, and you can just toss landmines and grenades around all willy-nilly, and it doesn't even cause the ship to explode or anything wonderfully hilarious like that. We find our man and our space rock, and he's more than happy to give us our space rock in exchange for saving his life, which, hey, done and done.
It doesn't play.
So you're saying Hey, I'll trade some weird space. Hope you figure out.
Let's grab the artifact. Good work. Let's get
We trade in our nice new fancy rock for some new experience and the next part of the quest.
There's a massive output as the artifact is added, then it harmonizes. Like it's waiting for the others.
We pick ourselves up Sam here. I think I give him a grenade. Hopefully I did. I probably forgot. And we are off to Akira City to do some space cowboy stuff.
You a free star? The three of us are heading. We'll land in the cities. And I got a lead. I know, it's dangerous. The real thing is way worse. Okay. Once we land on a key.
So we land in Akira City, and we've got ourselves immediately a problem where the documents we need are in the bank, and there are currently people robbing said bank. And obviously, they decide that we are a qualified negotiator. I don't think they know who I am yet. Anyway, so we fail quickly our negotiation check and get in there and negotiate the other way we know how, which is willy-nilly tossing grenades around. I'm honestly shocked that I either can't kill the hostages accidentally, because I was not giving a crap and just threw grenades all over the place, but we ended up easily completing the mission.
Too bad there's no more. It was a workout. It'll take more than that.
He offers us a in to the Freestar Rangers, which I eventually end up completing and getting the cool quest reward for that. I'm probably not going to include it in this video because the video is already pretty long. I might spin that out into its own video though.
You got us out of it. As a matter of fact, if you're interested,
Everything will turn out just fine.
Now we are finally back in the bank with Sam. He gives us a key, and we need to blindly fumble around looking for these maps. And it turns out that his father took the maps, so we get to sort through more family drama for Sam and go talk to his father, who I believe ends up being pretty reasonable to me. I didn't even have to distract him or steal from him or do anything weird. I just asked him, hey, can I have the maps? And he said yes, which honestly seems like something that Sam could have done years ago, and has obviously chosen not to talk to his father at all. Anyway, also these maps in this location is one of those cases where the quest location is hilariously close to a main city outpost, and it's just silly that this is such a hidden, hard to find location, and we need a map to get it when it's like literally right over the hill.
Alright, let me think. There. Well, you ain't wrong. First, it's in the middle, but the empty net. Well, just remember, it's about the artifact. Let's get to that cave.
Okay, I ended up, killing all the raiders outside the cave entrance, getting here, quickly get our space MacGuffin rock, and have another wonderful trip into space. And now we can turn around and leave, go back to the lodge, and turn it in for more experience.
Okay. The flavor of smuggler lives here.
I should save more. Yep. For someone who's throwing grenades and landmines in melee range, I should really save more. That's a lesson that I should take forward and don't. I really wish the game, I don't think it does, it tracked how many times you killed yourselves with landmines or explosives, because that number already is very high, and it just gets higher. Nothing is ever easy though, so we end up getting jumped by the Shaw gang, who I put up a decent fight. I think I had to restart this fight once or twice because of the weird animals that attack you, the weird dog looking things, and they just ended up killing me straight up. The human enemies were no problem, but those guys, they just ripped me apart. So I started over and slowly and carefully killed off the weird dog lizard thingamabobbers. Another magic rock for our magic rock pile, and I think we are on our next quest. Vlad upon the Eye is our go-to man for finding new quest rocks and temples, so off we go to go see what he has to say, and hopefully he's got something good for us.
Oh, and since it... Likewise.
We got a rook on deck. Wish I could have been. Now, this. But the data. You won't be the. Mateo went.
Hey, lad. You got anything? Got anything good for me? Oh, more space rocks. Cool. Thank you. I'll go check that out. Can you skip saving Barrett? I'm not saying I would, but for friends asking, could I? I mean, I wouldn't. Obviously, I wouldn't leave Barrett here, and I wouldn't leave Heller on that weird moon he's on, right? No. Obviously not. Just asking.
They could have grabbed. You want to try it? Go ahead.
We follow our distress signal that we found with Lynn and find our boy Heller here bleeding out on some weird moon, and he ends up pointing us in the direction of where Barrett is being held by the Crimson Fleet. Good times.
You miss men. Oh yeah. So, and then I was drifting and got a signal. Hey. Yeah. Just give me a. Let me know when you want it. Still think there might. Phew. Oh, I'm glad. You got it. Catch you on the flip side, boss. Thanks for letting me tap.
Even though I could just run past these guys, I seem to be obsessed with just not doing that and using my supplies willy-nilly and killing guys who, you can just run right on past.
No sense in it.
See, that's what I like.
When I was first thinking of this run, I had this great mental image of placing landmines all around some guy, and you can see how that goes. That's not how I wanted it to go. I wanted the conversation to happen, and then when they turn hostile because you're a jerk, then the landmines go off. That's not how it works. The landmines just go off, and then everything's on fire.
I am at your service, Captain.
Got a little held up on Vectera.
Barrett,
We head back to Constellation, to the lodge, turn in, Barrett and Heller for our nice experience reward, and now I think we are off to find Andrea again.
Available to you.
complaining about you more than usual, which is always a sign when he's worried.
Don't start, country. Wait, is that? And to think the first artifact was taking up dust on the library shelf.
I hope you are satisfied with the quarters available to you.
You feel it a bit, can't you? So hey, why don't I stick around? You don't want to get dragged down.
I like that we are here to help her, and she clearly doesn't need our help. But here we are, looking for more neato burrito space rocks to add to our space rock pile. And, yeah, easy.
Always worth checking. Never know what you might find in their pockets.
This is another spot where I died too many times. I think the first time I just was going to be cool and I hurled myself off the cliff and forgot I didn't have a boost pack and just died. And then I think I was too close to a couple frag grenades And yeah, I ended up having to redo a whole bunch of this because I wasn't saving enough. Those landmines are nice. I mean, I take a bunch of damage, but so do the enemies. And I think I'm going to be willing to make that trade going forward. Just invest in more health and more damage mitigation. And here we are, making it through this eclipse-infested place to get our next space rock for the pile.
I am at your service,
Thank
Captain.
goodness. You were worried. Look at you two. I'm jealous. They could be anywhere, can't...
Our next stop is Vlad has found a new gravitational distortion for us to check out, which is our first temple and our first magic power. So we have to flail around with our scanner, find the distortion, and head to the temple. So for every temple, this is pretty much what happens. They're all the same, so I think I'm just going to include this one, yeah, and not include the rest.
Who do you think will be the first to ask us questions? Mateo or Noel?
Crix is born.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna.
We were right about the anomaly. An entire
Vladimir?
I think we're good. Everyone saw that. Like a literal gift.
And also,
Got no old shit.
Everyone is so blown away by the magic powers, and I guess I should be, but I didn't find any so far that I've run through playing the game that I ever think, oh, thank God I've got that magic power, I'll use it.
Just need.
The next main plot point is we need to help Walter here find his artifact, which involves us doing a lot of work for him while he sits around and doesn't do anything, which is a little real, a little too real.
with my...
Walter ends up sending us on a bunch of busy work, checking security, bribing people, and a bunch of stuff he was apparently too cool to do. So we run off and do that, and I end up not recording it because it's just WoW fetch quest stuff, and no one needs to see that. Normally when I go through this section of the game, I end up failing every check and aggroing everything in the room, either through a bug or whatever. This time, everything actually, I make the conversation check, I get up the elevator, and I manage to follow the CEO, Walter's wife, whatever her name is, follow her instructions and not aggro everything. Some safe scumming, but not a lot, because I've never actually gotten through here without aggroing everything, like I said. But, yeah, I kind of wish I had just done what I normally do and explode everything in here. I tried to start this fight by just hucking a grenade onto that little weird balcony place, but you can hear it click, but no actual grenade goes flying. And yeah, you could just easily talk through it and not end up having to fight this whole floor, and then sometimes the rest of the building. But I prefer hucking a grenade up there or firing a mining laser up at that guy instead of talking through this thing. Yeah, I wouldn't do this again of just talking through this fight. Definitely feels like a mistake.
You will have the...
It seems reasonable that a thief face some.
My security brought Musgrove to my office. I'm sure.
We have an opportunity to spare a man's life.
After that very unsatisfying run, this was not the time for some kind of weird space guys to show up and demand space rocks for me. I may not care about space rocks, but you're not going to get my space rocks. So now we try out to see how our missile-only starting ship does against the Starborn. And it does just fine. Does some decent work. Now we have a nice little panic meeting after tossing our rock in the pile. We have a nice panic meeting where we try and figure out who the Starborn are, and we don't know, and that's about it.
What happened? Who was that?
Take a look at the ship's That's no faction vessel or Crimson Fleet. Secret military tech, maybe?
No United Colonies Admiral approved that.
The next point Vlad points out to us, where potentially a temple or space rock are, is here. And I get some nice catharsis, throwing some grenades at some dudes, planting some landmines on some dudes. Yeah, overall good. And here, now that the Starborn have shown up, I know they're going to be at every single rock and every single temple. So, here we are, me figuring out, hey, Starborn are apparently, at least some of them, very weak to being frozen. There we go. And once they're frozen, you can huck grenades at them to your heart's content, and they just sit there. Very nice. Now we get to help our boy Vlad out with repairing his underfunded and underappreciated space station, which we do gladly.
Hey, you mind helping me weld up some of these panels?
Knew I should have fixed that.
No need for the martyr. As for you, while we... Don't want to worry. Captain Petrov owns it.
After helping Vlad out with the station, he points us in the direction of some new temples and space rocks. So anytime you want more info on where those are, you just fly over to the eye and talk to him. Frank at the gun store in Neon finally started selling explosives now, and Frank he's got a lot of my money now. He's definitely putting sticks through college now. I love this guy. You know, you just throw one grenade in his crotch and he's like, I surrender. Stop doing that.
You left us with little choice.
Ah! Go then.
You throw one grenade in one guy's crotch, and the UC is all over your business, locking you up, forcing you to join the Crimson Fleet for pretend. Well, maybe I'll join him for real, huh? Then you'll be sorry.
Look at that. Right?
Potentially someone's life ruined for $500. Again, a little real.
Which is precisely why we need eyes. The catch is that Good.
Gone completely dark.
Now we return back after getting another space rock to toss in the pile, and it turns out Vlad is in trouble. At this point in the plot, I decide to stay here and hunker down with the people at the lodge and defend the relics. And then the hunter shows up. Normally, all my builds have been garbage at dealing with this part, and I just have to run away. But the combo of landmines, grenades, and then potentially more grenades actually drives them away, which is a pretty cool thing that they actually had something happen, and the dialogue, I think, is a bit different if you actually manage to drive them off through combat. Very cool. Afterwards, after you run through the city with the Starborn after you, you get to talk to him, and because you beat him, you end up getting a free laser gun. I don't think it's very good, but it's still cool. We return to the eye. Barrett's dead. Moving on.
Oh, thank goodness. Where's Barrett?
He's gone. We.
So, there have always been mysteries.
So now Mateo has an idea that he has heard the word unity, which the Starborn Hunter was shouting. So he wants us to take us to church, where we talk to Keeper here, Quillis, and he has us run around again, doing some busy work, talking to a bunch of people to hear the stories, and we do that, and I'll just jump to the point, and yeah.
I visited her.
I'll stay here with the Keeper. We need to catch up. And I wouldn't mind asking him a few more questions.
The puzzles are pretty easy to get through once you end up with the miraculous solve that the Keeper comes up with. So you end up at this terminal and can probably just guess your way through and end up at the next puzzle. This is a hard puzzle. This took me forever the first time. That's not even a joke. But it is as simple as move the laser to the left, bunch of lights. You're done. Moving on. That last really hard puzzle point us in the direction of the Starborn, who are sorry they attacked us, I guess. Or we earned it by surviving. Anyway.
The unity.
Oh my word. It turns out Barrett is alive. Well, Doppelpopulus Barrett from another alternate universe, and Keeper Aquilus is the hunter. Wow.
I see. Where I came from, I was the one who stayed at the lodge to protect.
They end up trying to preach their case and go over which of these two dudes you should side with. One being we need to protect the people from the power of the artifacts, and then the other guy saying it should be free run, and if you're strong enough to get the artifacts, you deserve the artifacts. Space rocks, or McMuffins, whatever they are.
Survive because I was also human once. But what does it?
Last video, I ended up skipping this quest entirely. Well, skipping it from the video. I love this quest. It's one of my favorite that I've seen so far. I'll try and avoid spoilers, but the setup in general is you're flying on a Vlad lead. You land, and well, you get a distress call as you're going for the lead, and it says, "Oh, we've exploded. Our high energy research section is in trouble. Can you help us out?" And you land, and the station is fine. But you know about their high energy research lab, which is supposed to be a secret, and yeah, you end up doing a cool quest in there. Now the Starborn have given us a key to a moon base. That's a little weird. Anyway, and here we get to hear a recording of the first test of a grav drive where they send a ship from Earth orbit all the way over to Jupiter. And we also find out that NASA doesn't exactly know the data that all of this grav drive was based off of. The guy refuses to tell, and it's apparently a big secret. Now, on to Earth. As we go through the NASA base on Earth, we find a bunch of audio logs kind of going over the initial phases of research and kind of how, sort of the inklings on how the research started for the grav drive. And one of the first from Judith here is talking about finding something and looking at it, and she mentions that the periodic table needs to get tossed out. Interesting. Now we start hearing from Judith that people were really not interested in hearing about any kind of potential side effects or anything else related to the Grav Drive. They just wanted to see the stars and charge forward almost blindly. Damn the consequences. Now, in the center of the research area, we find out that Isa knew that the Grav Drive would, in fact, deplete Earth's atmosphere, and that he had talked to a copy of himself who gave him all the information on the Star Drive, or not Star Drive, Grav Drive, and he made the call without consulting anyone that yes, in fact, it was worth it. Sacrificing Earth and everything was worth it. And yeah. After you pick up the final artifact in the center here, the Starborn attack, and I ended up running pretty much all the way through. My damage is really starting to fall off, and it's taking a ton of supplies if the enemy is higher level to actually beat them down. Now we're part of the run where we just kind of choose who we are going to side with, either the emissary, Doppelpopulus Barrett, or the hunter who killed Standard Barrett. Yeah. I picked the emissary again, and, you know, I haven't picked the hunter. Maybe next run, if I do another run, I will pick the hunter, see what he's all about, and see how that changes the next couple fights. Now we have a nice little interlude before the start of the next heavy ground combat section, where we get to fight through with our Super Nito ship we got from finishing the space or the Freestar Collective Space Cop missions, and yeah, we get to fire our missiles only at some Starborn and clear through it. This ended up being, at this point in the run, the missiles were fun. At the start, it is definitely rough going. Now we are at the first heavy Starborn fight. So this is a few waves of Starborn, and I immediately start just chewing through supplies. And I'm just tossing mines and grenades, whatever I've got, to try and get through this fight, and I'm just burning through supplies to try and get through it. Healing potions, and I'm tossing toxic grenades and toxic mines, EM mines, fire mines, and the damage over time mines, toxic fire, whatever, has fallen off hard. And the EM mines do not appear to do anything. I don't know if they're bugged or if these are bosses. I don't know, but they didn't do anything. Now we get to take a little leap through memory lane and see some alternate universes, I guess, and different perspectives. At some point here, I should have finished one of these fights, turned around, left, and bought more supplies. But I didn't. Yeah. If you look closely at some of these clips, you can see that some of the starboard here have mining lasers again. At first, I was all spooked, thinking, "Oh my god, they read my save. They can see me." And no, I just have mining laser equipped, and that's the only weapon I've equipped. Now we start good old-fashioned hunter fight. I just go right for the attack option. You can crit that persuade check, and I did that on my first run, and anyway, skip the whole fight, which is boring. So I didn't want to risk that happening. And so here we are, final fight, going through. My supplies are pitifully low at this point, and I'm hucking them around. The impact grenades, which I am firing and throwing right here, which just explode on impact, kind of like the name, are putting them in some serious work. But I don't have a lot of them right now. And, right, I think I've got a pitifully low number of supplies at this point. And, yeah, not looking good, and the damage looks bad. And what do we got? 14 lines or weapons to get through this, and most of them are the EM mines that apparently don't do stuff. Good. A little Doppelpopulus Andrea scaring me there. And now, here I believe are my last 7 EM mines. And I tossed them here. I don't think they did any damage. I don't think they did anything at all. At this point, I'm thinking it's over. I'm just gonna toss this last landmine here in a second and start over. But for once, I have plenty of healing potions, so I'm just hanging out, drinking my potions, and seeing what happens. Waiting for the hunter to kill me. And it ends up with the NPCs carrying the run and killing the hunter. It's kind of got a neat symmetry of the start and end of the run being hard carried by the NPCs. I thought about redoing the fight, honestly, but again, I like the symmetry. Kind of a cool ending for that run. So I guess in conclusion, yes, you kind of can beat this game with explosives only, sort of. Now I'm gonna quickly go over my stats here, and I ended up with 4 wellness, 3 pain tolerance, 4 energy dissipation, 1 decontamination, 4 commerce, 1 speech, 4 points in the first row of combat. Note it says 12 kills and lasers. I'll talk about that later. 4 points in grenades, 1 point in EM damage and some other skills. None worked. And then 1 point in crippling and weakness or armor penetration. It appears that the crippling worked, but weakness didn't. And then 1 point in piloting. Now on to some other combat stats. You can see, if you look through this list, that I have only explosive kills. The lasers, the ballistics, everything else is at a nice flat 0. And looking into the difference between the laser skill saying 12 kills and this saying 0, it turns out the NPC kills, like Andrea using her laser gun, gives your character credit in the skill tree for completing that challenge, which I thought was really interesting. The other number that I found interesting and depressing was the amount of credits found, like 570,000 credits, all spent on healing potions and grenades. So that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you watching the video next time.